In this video, we're going to talk about my next dividend stock I'm buying. That's going to be AMDY. We're going to talk about this Yield Max ETF that pays a monthly dividend, and it uses AMD as the underlying stock for which it generates its massive monthly dividend. Stick around. I know you're going to like this one. Hey, welcome back everyone. It is time for another red hot covered call video. Well, hey, look, we are talking covered calls, but I'm not actually going to show you a trade of me writing covered calls. You know, if you've been to my channel, you know that's what we talk about. We write covered calls, we sell cash secure puts, generating fat income, and we buy dividend paying stocks. Do you remember when I introduced the idea that we were going to buy dividend paying stocks with all of our covered call premium profit? We started that February 27th. And since then, I have planted 4 dividend trees in my dividend grove. And that dividend grove is now generating $4,400 a month. And every single time we get a dividend, we buy a new dividend tree, and that new dividend tree is going to be AMDY. We're going to talk about why I love AMDY right now, and it has little to do with AMDY. We're going to talk about how this Yield Max ETF generates its fat monthly dividend, but more importantly, I'm going to show you why I think this is a great time to get involved, and that's what I'm going to do. So look, if you have never been to my channel and you do not know what I do is this. I write covered calls, sell cash secure puts, I buy dividend stocks. I am retired, been retired for 2 years. I'm 56 years old. We do this for the cash flow, and right now the cash flow is absolutely kicking. Be sure to watch the video at the end of this video where we talk about it's only May of 2024, and I've already knocked it down $261,000. So you can only imagine how excited I am for where we're going to go the rest of the year. If you want to be a part of that journey with me, because I come back every single week, show you timely and relevant trades, I need you to subscribe to the channel. It's right there and it's free. And hey, look, man, if you like this video, bang that like button. It lets me know you like what I'm doing. Now, what I'm doing is this. I'm buying a dividend stock with all my covered call premiums. And what we do is this. We plant a dividend tree. Now, I'm not going to take any money away from my family. I'm not going to take away a vacation, a weekend dinner, or going to Starbucks. What I'm going to do is use my covered call premiums to buy one of these stocks, one of these ETFs that pay me monthly. And it is a simple idea. An idea for which ever since I thought of it back in mid-February, I have actually bought 4 dividend-paying stocks, and they are now paying me $4,400 a month. If you remember, I used all covered call premiums. We bought PYPY. PYPY is the Yield Max ETF that uses PayPal as its underlying stock. It writes calls against it, and it generates a fat dividend. In fact, this thing paid over 70 cents last month. And I'll tell you, when you buy 1,500 shares of stock with only covered call profits, where you literally had no money whatsoever, and now you have the money to buy 1,500 shares of PYPY, you're bringing in over $1,000 a month in cash flow. Well, that was only the beginning, because not only did I buy PYPY, I went ahead and stuck it in with Yield Max. And Yield Max paid 73 cents. I got 1,500 shares of that using covered call premium profits. That's the only thing for which I use to buy these stocks. We went ahead and bought ULTY. That bad boy paid like $1.41 per share. So you get my point. We're using covered call premium profits or cash secure put profits, and we're buying dividend paying stocks. Those dividend paying stocks are my dividend trees. And my dividend trees are going to produce cash flow. And that cash flow is going to be produced passively every single month. Every single month. Do you hear that? We are literally taking a semi-passive investment strategy of writing covered calls, selling cash secure puts, generating money, and we're going to buy a dividend paying stock. That dividend paying stock will produce cash fruit which will be used for the next dividend paying stock. And when we have 10 of these and 15 of these, now we're talking real money. So let's talk about my next one, because my next one is AMDY, and this thing is absolutely kicking. To this point, generating some 35% distributions. I'll tell you what, it uses AMD as the underlying stock. Now, let's talk about how YieldMax will use a stock to generate this massive dividend. Go to YieldMax website and click on AMDY, and you will see its dividend distributions. It started out with a massive $1.11. Then it fluctuates. And it fluctuates because the stock is fluctuating. AMD, they're using AMD to generate these dividends. And I'm going to show you exactly how they do this. And this is phenomenal. They're going to be able to do this for most every stock, and you're going to find other companies doing this. YieldMax is the only one right now that really uses these individual stocks. You can see the net assets here are about 113 million. I think when they opened this fund, it was like 20 million. So people love this idea. They love AMD. And why not let somebody else write the covered calls and then reap all of that benefit? And that's what you do when you buy AMDY. And here is how it works. The folks at YieldMax simulate stock ownership. Do you see the two right there? So now they have simulated stock ownership. They can now go out and write covered calls against this position. And you can see right here, here's a covered call, here's a covered call. You'll also see that this fund holds treasuries. That's the collateral they're using. It's part of the NAV. You don't really need to know anything about that. Just understand that what they're doing is they are simulating stock ownership, and then they are writing covered calls on that simulated stock ownership. And what they do is they do this in big volume. They're doing this with 3,500 contracts, and they have multiple call options out there. So now you understand how AMDY generates its dividend. Let me be super clear. The company YieldMax, they are going to use the stock. What they're going to do is, for this YieldMax fund, AMDY, they're going to use AMD stock, and they're going to write covered calls against their simulated stock ownership. And that's how they're going to generate these fat monthly dividends. But here is the hook, and a lot of people don't catch this. It all depends on where AMD trades. And this is why when people invested in Tesla, which Tesla was the very first YieldMax fund, well, Tesla was trading at an all-time high. So when Tesla falls, well, guess what? Tesla falls with it. Now everybody's pissing and moaning that Tesla is falling to all-time lows. It's because Tesla has fallen from 300 and trading in and around 170. So you have to understand, they are simulating stock ownership, and what they're doing is writing calls. So with that said, it's going to move with the stock. So what you want to do is you want to get involved when the stock's trading at a low, and AMD is. And I told you at the beginning of this video, I'm going to invest in AMDY, not because of AMDY. It has more to do with AMD. Let's bring up AMD's chart and let's talk about it. So if you don't know AMD, it's basically the second largest chip maker on the planet. And hey, if you're going to tell me Intel's the second behind NVIDIA, you'd be wrong, because AMD has growth. AMD has rallied from basically where it was trading 100 a year ago. Once the AI bubble started, AMD is a part of that bubble. And you can see the stock has rallied to over 212 bucks. Well, they had earnings, and just like anything that has a parabolic move, it has peeled back. But nothing has changed fundamentally with the business. They still sell AI chips. Yes, they sell chips for computers and all other devices, but at the end of the day, they have some AI technology. They're basically the second best chip maker in this space. So you can see AMD has started to recover. And this is critical for AMDY, because like I told you, AMDY is going to trade basically with AMD. When AMDY is trading for 20 bucks up here, well, now it's trading for 17 down here. But do you see the correlation? It moves with the stock. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. If AMD were to make a run from 166 to 266, AMDY, which is trading at 17, will not experience that 100-point move. Do not think that. Remember what AMDY does. It writes covered calls against its simulated stock ownership. So it caps its upside. It's going to have to write calls as it goes higher, never truly capturing that 100-point move. Now, that's okay, because to be honest with you, if you're going to be in the monthly dividend game, you the investor out there, need to understand you don't really need your stock to move anywhere. If you bought it at 17 and 3 years from now it's at 17 and you've collected 50 cents a share every single month, you're knocking it down. That's how wealth managers get their wealthy clients into monthly cash flow investments. The closed-end fund is the definition of this. You will buy a closed-end fund at $7, and I'm telling you now, in about 3 years, it'll trade anywhere from 7, 8, 9, but you don't get much stock appreciation because they're spinning out the cash that they make based on what they use, what they do to generate the dividend. So they're not building the NAV because they're kicking the NAV out to its investors. And in the case of YieldMax, that's exactly what they do. And they do it in hella big chunks. Remember, AMDY paid 50 cents last month, and this thing is paid over $1 when AMD was making its run. AMD is a little more volatile. It has more IV. So guess what? AMDY is going to pay a bigger monthly dividend because its covered calls are going to get higher premiums. And that means we, as AMDY investors, are going to benefit. So here's the deal. I absolutely love AMDY, not because of AMDY. I love it because it tracks AMD, which is a highly profitable semiconductor AI stock. In my opinion, it's going to go higher. It has peeled off since its recent rally to $212, and we're probably going to get a nice little move to the upside again. For me, if I get involved now when it's trading at 17, and we're talking about AMDY, then I'm going to benefit when AMD itself slowly ladders up back to 212. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for AMD to move higher. You buy low and it might move higher. And by buying low, we have a more favorable chance it's going to move higher. So in summary, why have I picked AMDY for my next dividend tree plan? It's simple. I want to use the YieldMax funds because they generate higher monthly dividends. I'm going to use AMDY because it uses AMD. AMD is a stock that has higher volatility. It's going to pay higher premiums on its covered calls. So we're going to benefit by collecting higher monthly dividends from AMDY. But most important, we're catching this in the down cycle of the stock. In fact, you can see the RSI is sitting at about 57. So this thing is right there where it's not oversold, it's not overbought. So AMD right now could actually make a nice little move, maybe back to 212. And that would give us, the AMDY stockholder, a little bit of a stock appreciation move. But with that positive move comes positive call options for which YieldMax will be selling, and that means big AMDY monthly dividends. So AMDY is my next dividend tree plan. And when I'm done planning this in what seems to be about 3 weeks, I will be generating over $5,500 a month because I started taking all my covered call profits and buying dividend paying stocks. We go from the trade mindset to the wealth mindset real quick. My goal is to have many of these dividend trees paying me over $10,000 a month. And we're going to keep doing this because we think wealthy. This is what the wealthy do. We're going to do what the wealthy does so we can live the good life with passive monthly income. Hey, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. In fact, I want you to tell me your monthly dividend stock you're buying. Hey, look, be safe, be healthy, most important, be lucky. Until next time, may all your covered calls be profitable.